My name is Saud Waqar, and we're going to be talking about how to start a business as a student. I'm going to give a small presentation, about 15 minutes or so, and then it's going to be open for question and answers, so everyone can ask what they're um, thinking about or any questions they have regarding their own business. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys a little about myself. Then we're going to talk about idea generation. We're going to talk about how to make a business plan, how to raise investment, some points specific to student entrepreneurs. Then we'll go on towards the dark side, why startups fail and how you can prevent your startup from failing. We're going to talk about COVID-19, how to plan for the future, and then we're going to go towards question and answers. So about me. I was born and raised in Pakistan. I studied finance, accounting and finance for 4 years, did an ACCA degree as well. Then I went on to found and run two businesses. One of them was a fruit distribution startup where we raised 60,000 pounds in investment and sold about 20,000 pounds in our first 3-month sell cycle. I was a part of the business for about 2 years. And during that time, I also started another business, which was a marketing consultancy business. Our clients were mainly small startups and local businesses. We helped them design their marketing campaigns and operational strategy. After that, I worked as a business analyst at a financial software company. And now I'm in Glasgow pursuing a master's in finance and management. Idea generation. Okay, so in my experience, there are two types of entrepreneurs. The first type is I have an idea, but don't know how to go about it. And the second type is the people that want to do entrepreneurship, want to start their own business and don't have an idea. So this slide is going to be useful for both of those categories. The first thing you have to know when thinking about an idea is the needs and wants of the consumer. Because in the end, they are the most important people for your business. They make your business run, they pay your salaries, they grow your business and give you market share. So if you're not complying with the consumer's needs and wants, your startup isn't going to go that far. So in that, there are two main parts. You have to solve a problem and you have to add value. So you have to take all of these three things alongside. Now, for those people who don't have an idea on how to get consumer needs and wants, I've shared two links, IBIS World and Statista. You can get industry reports and statistics on consumer behavior, and you can actually know in terms of stats and figures what consumers want, how they respond, and how you can go about understanding markets and then building your own idea. The fourth point in this would be flexibility. Now, a lot of times what happens is you make something good in your university project, or you come up with a great idea that's good for you, but maybe that's not good for the greater world or the consumers as a whole. So you have to be flexible in your idea. Now, I'm going to share a story in my own experience. When I started my fruit distribution business, it did not start off as that. It started off as an electronic apricot drying machine that could speed the process of drying apricots and selling dried apricots. So people in Pakistan did not use electronic apricot dryers. So we made a machine for that. But after that, as time went on, we realized that there's no market for those machines because of cultural reasons, educational reasons, lack of technical skills, and other reasons, and expense, of course. People didn't want to buy it. So we transitioned away from the machine and towards apricots themselves. And we started selling apricots. So we were flexible in our idea. We took a look at the market and we adapted our idea accordingly. I think that's a really important characteristic when you're talking about your idea and as entrepreneurs as a whole. So that's a bit about idea generation. Now, apart from the industry research where you can get ideas, a lot of universities, a lot of countries have business idea competitions. They give you a proper guideline, a format to follow and come up with an idea, pitch your idea, and they have mentors that help you actually develop your idea. So that's a really good platform. My first startup started from a business idea competition as well. So it gives you a lot of access to a lot of knowledge and people, and I think that's a great start. Second, it would be university societies. A lot of people interested in similar things, so it helps. Then there's an entrepreneurship class you can take. I think it's like available in every university, And then there's, of course, university alumni. Now, I think that's the most important reason for two reasons. One, they're working in the practical world and they know what problems people are facing. You don't because you're studying, but they do because they're working. And the second reason is about raising investment, and I'll get to that later on in the slides. Okay, business plan. So I'm not going to go into the details of how to make a business plan because those can easily be found online. You can find outlines and designs, you can find whole guides on reading a business plan, and I'm sure Harvard Business Review and the UK government would be able to explain that way better than I can. But I'll give you a small brief outline of a general business plan. It's something I use myself for both of my startups. The first thing I used to talk about was the problem. Because when you have an idea, you're solving a problem. So you have to explain the problem. What's the size of the problem? For example, in my case, I explained how many apricots are wasted each year in terms of weight and in terms of monetary value. And then you tell them your solution to the problem, how you're going to solve that problem, how no one else can, and you're most suited to solve that problem. Then you explain, introduce your team, because that's one of the most important things in a startup. If your idea is great, but your team isn't good, you won't be able to execute. So the team has to be good, has to be knowledgeable, and has to have the drive to actually implement the solution. This is your opportunity in the business plan to sell your team and show to your investor that you guys can do what you're talking about. It's not just an idea. After that, you go into marketing, how you're going to bring the product to marketing, what consumers you're going to target, what strategies are you going to follow, how you're going to be different from competitors. Then is the financials. Financials can be two-pronged. One is how much investment you want to raise and where you're going to use that investment. That's a very important part for investors because a lot of people have ideas. They know we need £100,000, but they don't know where they're going to actually spend it. And investors need to know that because they're giving you their hard-earned money. Second part would be your projections, your projections for your company or business. How much you're going to sell, how much profit you're going to make in the first year, second year, third year. Usually it's about 5 years or 10 years, depends on what kind of business you have. And this part of the business plan has to be really researched upon because VCs, venture capitals, and investors, they actually grill you on this part because, sorry, anyone can say we're going to make £100,000 of sales in 2 years and then go to $1 million in 5 years. But there has to be something to back that up. There has to be substantial evidence to back that up. And you have to know what you're talking about. That's what investors are really interested in. Most people don't cater towards financials as much as they could. Maybe I'm saying that because I'm a finance guy myself, but I think it's true otherwise as well. Okay, so that's something you really have to concentrate on. Okay, moving towards investor proposition. Now, this is the part where you tell, because a business plan is catered towards each investor you're targeting. If you're targeting if you're targeting a venture capital fund to raise investment, you're going to give them different terms. You're going to ask for more money, and they're going to give you a lot more in return. If you're asking an individual investor, like a friend or a teacher or a professor or someone, you're going to ask for less money, and they're going to give, and you're going to give them less in return. So the investor proposition basically tells what you need from that specific investor and what you're going to give them. And then your contact details, of course. So that's a short outline of a business plan. But more important than that, what I want to talk to you about is the purpose of the business plan. When it comes towards outlines and how to make one, people get a lot of, I get an academic mindset at making, especially students. I had that problem myself. When students are making business plans, they get into the academic mindset of making headings and just writing information under that. The information is not that important as the purpose of the business plan is. The purpose is to tell a story. You have to tell a story about your startup, how the idea was generated, what problem you found, how you're going to solve the problem, what you're going to do in the future. You have to show them a timeline and a picture of what they expect in the coming 5 years. And it has to be amazing and captivating. So when you're telling your story, you have to tell your team that you're the best at this and you're going to execute on it. You're not just going to give up halfway through. You have to describe your product or service, and then you have to tell them how you're going to add value to the investor. So you keep these 4 points in mind, and then go about making your business plan, you might see that the outlines change or the headings change, and that's okay. But the purpose has to remain the same. Okay, moving on towards raising investment. First thing you have to do is make a pitch deck or business plan. I went through in the last slide, but here are two links. You can find business plans of famous startups and successful startups like Facebook, Uber, Airbnb, etc. on these two links. You'll see that each of them don't follow the same outlines, but they follow the rule that you're telling a story. They keep the purpose in mind. So you can look at that and learn from that a lot. So second step in raising investment would be to participate in business idea competitions or associate yourself with startup incubators and accelerators. Now, I've shared links of lists and resources to read upon if you're interested in these things. So incubators and accelerators, what do they do and what are they? So you go to an incubator or an accelerator, you pitch your startup, they like your idea, they incubate you. What happens at incubation? They give you office space, they give you knowledge, they give you industry expertise, they give you access to investment, which is otherwise hard to come by, and they actually guide you and mentor you through the whole process. In return, they may ask for a percentage of your sales or a percentage of your company's equity ownership. That depends from incubator to incubator. So that's a really good idea to actually grow your startup in a safe environment where you're mentored and advised and given resources. Second point, business idea competitions. I told you a bit about that before, but I'll work again. Business idea competitions are similar to incubators, except that usually it's a prize money at the end, and they give you some direction. Like some business ideas are social enterprise focused, some solve a problem, and some are focused towards technology. So it depends on the idea, on the competition, and they give you resources accordingly. Fourth point, something that was very useful for me in both of my startups was access to university professors and alumni. Now, these are people that know a lot of other people that have most likely interacted with startups before and are interacting with businesses right now. So you have to get in touch with them because they can provide you with a lot of opportunities regarding investment raising and regarding other startup resources, and they can even invest in you themselves. Moving on towards student entrepreneurs. I'm going to talk about some challenges I faced and what advice I'd give for anyone facing similar challenges. The first challenge I faced was managing my time. Second, prioritizing study versus business. Third would be being taken seriously as a businessman / woman and a student. And fourth would be stepping out of the academic mindset. Now, for managing my time, what I did, very simple. I kept a diary, split the page in half by drawing a line between it, put study work on one side and business work on the other side, and started noting down every task I had to do for the day, and I cut it off. At the end of the day, I'd see how many tasks I have, and I'd plan my next day accordingly. So managing your time, crucially, the most crucial thing would be to keep a list of everything you have to do, and then prioritize them by adding numbers. Second point, challenge I faced. Prioritizing study versus business. Now, this is something I got terribly wrong. I focused on my business and forgot about my studies. I didn't score as well. So what I'd suggest is your business will go on for a long time, but your education will only come once. So I think you should concentrate on your education, and that's the priority as long as you're a student. Unless you're the next Facebook, then I don't have much to say about that. Okay, being taken seriously. I'm a student, I've got a business idea, I've got a few friends with me. I'm going to companies, asking them for money, asking them to partner with me, telling them how I'll provide value. But in the end, I'm a student and I don't have industry exposure and I'm young. So they don't take me seriously. So the thing that I did was I worked on my knowledge and I worked on my confidence. Now, the thing about knowledge is if you know what you're talking about, know every answer to their question, and possibly know stuff that they themselves don't know, then they will trust you and they will respect you. Even if you're a student, a young person, if you know more than they do, or if you know everything about your own startup, how much it costs to make the product, how much you're going to sell for, how much time it takes from start of the product to getting into the customer's hand and everything, then they will respect you and they will partner with you. Second thing, confidence. Knowledge gives you confidence because you know what you're talking about. Stepping out of the academic mindset. Now, this is a big problem. Usually when we're studying, there are a lot of students who think, okay, what's going to come in the exam? I will study that. How do I get good grades? I will study that. In the entrepreneurship or startup world, there's no syllabus. No one cares how much you're going to score. The whole world is your syllabus. If you're talking about marketing, everything that comes under the domain of marketing, you can use that to succeed in your startup. Everything that comes in the domain of finance or operations, you can use that to succeed in your startup. So don't think about the syllabus. Think about how you're going to solve the next problem in your startup. Think about how in my case, you're going to sell X amount of product in and Y amount of time while making a profit. So step out of the academic mindset and understand that everything you learn is useful and you'll still have a lot more to learn at the end of the day. So everything is in the syllabus. Okay, coming towards the darker part, why startups fail. Now, there was a survey conducted by CB Insights. There's a link below about the 4 biggest reasons startups fail. And you see that the percentages don't add up to 100 because several startups usually chose several reasons for them failing. So that's why it doesn't add up to 100. Okay. So the biggest 2 reasons that startups fail are financials and product market fit. Now, financials. There are 2 things that come in financials. One is you underestimated how much money it would take to run your startup. When you start, you have to plan accordingly. You need to know how much money it's going to take and you have to leave a buffer. Usually what people do is when they raise investment, they get overconfident, they get a bit cocky, and they think that, okay, we're going to raise money again next year. So we don't have to take care of how much we spend right now. So that's a crucial mistake. You have to be lean. You have to spend as the lowest amount you can while providing the most amount of value. Second thing would be keeping a track on your finances. There's one thing, spending less. Other thing would be knowing how much you have in the bank. So these are 2 different things, and they're as equally important. Second thing would be the product market fit. When I talked about idea generation earlier, I brushed up upon this a bit. Now, product market fit is how willing consumers are to buy your product and how much your product fulfills the needs and requirements of the market. This is something very important because a lot of entrepreneurs love their product so much. It's a great product and they love it and they really want to sell it. But maybe it's only good for them or their friends. Maybe it's not good for the wider community or the market which you're trying to sell to. So the fit between consumer needs and your product's functionality has to be strong. I'd say 100%, but I think no product is 100%. So it has to be pretty strong. That's a major reason startups fail. And then adding flexibility, change your product as time goes on. You'd see with like technology, the banking system from 10 years ago to now is different. Why? Because consumers' needs changed. Instead of going to the bank branch, they wanted everything on their phones. So the businesses, the banks, they changed their business models. And that's what we'll have to do ourselves. Okay, the other 2 reasons I'm going to talk about why startups fail is competition and people. When it comes to people, it's mainly about the team that's working, conflicts, disagreements, inability to solve problems together, and different visions. That's the reason why startups fail. When it comes to competitions, it's usually that you're not differentiating your product enough. You don't have a competitive advantage, or the competition just has more money and is outpricing you. So I'll talk about how to, overcome each of these problems in the next slide. Flexible approach to product idea, talked up about that. Plan before you start and be on top of your cash flows, talked about that as well. Honest and regular communication with your team. Now, that sounds easy and most of you will say, oh, that's easy. That's nothing that we knew that. Well, of course, we're going to do that. But when you're running a business, then you got so much to do when everything's stressful and hectic and everyone's at the edge of their seat. It's not that easy to be honest and regular in communication because you're so lost in what you have to do. You don't sometimes think about what the other person is going through or what they're thinking. So honest and regular communication with your team is something that will help you in the long term. Fourthly, regarding competition, if you're going to compete with already established businesses, it's going to be very hard for you. So don't concentrate on other people in your market. Concentrate on the customer. Your business is not to defeat the other company. Your business is to add value to the customer. And if you add value to the customer, you will automatically gain market share and you will automatically beat your competition. Sorry. Okay, COVID-19. So here are some industries that are facing challenges, and here are some industries that are facing opportunities. Anyone that's thinking of a business idea right now should focus on these things. Retailers, hospitality, restaurants, and labor-intensive sectors, these are being hit by COVID-19. And tech-based and remote-based businesses are thriving. Remote working, cloud-based enterprise software, online health services, online education, and the delivery business, that is booming due to COVID-19. Now, when you're thinking about your ideas, COVID-19 is not going to be here forever. It's going to be here for about 6 months, a year or two tops, hopefully, fingers crossed. So yeah, so COVID is just, it's not something you have to think about for the long term, but if you really are starting or have a business, it's something you can consider right now. Now, moving towards tech and online services is going to be important, and it's going to help you keep customers instead of losing them. There are some startups that were formed during recessions and times of crisis. Dropbox, Airbnb, Pinterest, they're one of a few. And you can understand how they took advantage of a certain situation and turned it to their benefit. Okay, so you've got your startup and you're planning for the future. The first thing I'd see is concentrate on your vision. Where do you see the business 5 years or in 10 years? And what's the end goal? Because you have to know where you're going in order to get there. And my favorite thing I'd say about your vision is make people laugh. When I started my startup, I told them that I wanted to be Pakistan's largest fruit exporter. Now, for a company that only started about a few months ago, saying that is funny, it's stupid, people laugh at you. But when you work hard towards it, they begin to respect you. And if you have that goal that makes people laugh, even if you don't reach it, you'll get pretty close. And that'll be a great accomplishment in itself. So having a vision, knowing where you want to go, knowing where you see yourself in 5-10 years is very important for planning for the future. Okay, so getting to the practicalities. What is the current situation of the business? You have to look at the financial side and the operational side. Financially, how much money you have, how much money you've spent, how much money you're going to spend if things stay the same, and how much money you're going to spend according to your plan of growth or expansion. So that's very important because raising money every time is not easy because investors will ask you, why are you raising money again? Didn't you raise enough the first time? Why didn't you raise enough the first time? What are your plans? Why did your past plans fail? Why do you need more money? So being on top of your finances is important. Secondly, operations. Your product, is it getting to the customers on time? Is it the quality you want it to be? Are customers liking it? Is production smooth? Or if it's a service, is provision smooth? So once your financials and operations are good, there are no complaints from those things, then you can think about growing your business. Second thing, the market position. How much market share you have, how much customers you have, what is their satisfaction level. Once you know these things, you know where your business stands and you know where it has to improve, and then you can determine what kind of growth you want to go towards. So what kind of growth you want to go towards? There are 3 ways that I pointed down. One would be product growth. What that means is making new products. For example, you're making mobile software, mobile applications. Make different mobile applications. If you're working in game applications, make utility applications. So expanding your product Product offering would give you growth as you'd be hitting new markets and new customers. Second thing, markets. By this, I mean going international, going global, or going into different regions. Each region has different criteria, have different desires, needs, and wants. So I have to see if your product, if your business matches those markets. Thirdly, would be volume. If you're not interested in increasing your product offering, going global, you can increase your volume, the volume of things you produce, the volume, the quantity of products and services you produce. Each of these require different kind of plans, different kind of expertise, and different amounts of funding. And to better know what type of growth you're going to do and how much you need, you have to be on top of your current situation in business. And for that, you need to know your vision in the end. So that's a bit on how to plan for the future. And that's a small summary of how to start your business as a student. And I'm open to question and answers.